Well, that'd be incorrect. That'd be incorrect, as Ira is in Omaha, and I am here, and Corey is out of the state. So there is no Seminole headlines today. Hour 2 is a pre-record. This is a live hour. So for those of you watching right now in the Heiselika Law Firm chat, Warchant TV on YouTube, we appreciate you as always. Those of you driving about town, you're good to go as well. Perhaps two things are airing at once. I hope not. But there is Tom, are you there? Do I at least have you? We good?
Can you hear me, Mad Dog?
I can hear you. I don't understand. There's nobody around.
There's a lot of people here. There's a lot of people.
You're going to have to speak up. I can't hear you. Do you hear him now? Do you hear him now, Mad Dog? No, I can hear him just fine. I can hear Coach just fine. There's a lot. No, there's nobody here. There's nobody here. We should be able to hear you without a problem. That's
maybe he was surrounded by the ghosts of the children that he allowed to.
Oh Lord, we came out swinging to start today.
It's a working theory. Maybe he was haunted, as rightfully he should have been haunted by the failures to protect children.
Yeah, that's fair. That's absolutely fair. Really quickly, let me lay it out for you guys out there that are listening. Clearly, we did not do Seminole headlines today, could not do Seminole headlines today. The Noles play at 2 o'clock. This first hour, a live Jeff Cameron show. The second hour is a recorded Jeff Cameron show from earlier today, actually just before we came on. And it kind of serves as a counter programming for those that, I don't know, don't like baseball or something along those lines. Almost all of the next hour, almost all, is strictly Florida State football talk. So if that's your thing and you want to hear Florida State football talk, you're getting it next hour. The very first segment of hour number 2 is a little bit of baseball, but then it's all football from there with Tom and myself. And here in this first hour, we can kind of serve as a preview, build-up, pregame to Florida State's first pitch at 2 p.m. against North Carolina. We know now that Florida State has figured out a starter. At the time that we recorded earlier today, we did not know that starter, but it is Andrew Armstrong who will be on the hill today for Florida State. Now, keep in mind that you guys know, if you're wondering, there you go, Justin. I'll answer your question right off the bat in the Heiselika Law Firm chat. You hope that the leash on Armstrong is short. I don't have much faith in his arm. The leash on every single arm that they roll out there today will be very short, regardless of your level of faith. It is, for every one of these guys, a position they have not had to be in before. This is why it is a less than ideal set of circumstances for Florida State, having fallen in the loser's bracket after devastatingly blowing a 3-run lead in the 9th to Tennessee. In essence, and we talked about this some yesterday, but let's recap for a moment. By blowing that lead in the 9th and having the things that culminated in that blown lead in the 9th, and losing the game in the manner in which you did, it didn't just serve as a devastating result for a game that you largely controlled. It also meant, to a large degree, your chances of winning the College World Series were over. And if you want evidence of that, it's today's starter. Now, is that a shot at Armstrong? Oh, no, not at all. It's the circumstance you find yourself in without a depth of pitching that doesn't allow you to compete with the best teams in the country beyond a few games. You know, now, mano a mano, Florida State proved themselves to be every bit as good as Tennessee, who's number 1 ranked team in the country. Florida State, in a lot of ways, was the better team on that night. And in any one game, if you have your ace or your number 2, as it's proven out to be, Carson Dorsey, Florida State can beat anybody and could prove themselves to be the best team in the country. But when you extrapolate it out over several days and you play in a tournament, truncated as it might be, you just do not have enough arms. And you are unfortunately facing a team in North Carolina who thrives on, day 2, day 3, day 4, at least in terms of the amount of arms they can go to. It's really, truly the strength of their team. If the strength of Florida State's team is how long and deep the lineup is offensively, well, that is North Carolina from a pitching standpoint. So you find yourself in an unenviable position, but you're going to play the game and you're fully capable of winning it. And you do need a collection of dudes today to come in and give you everything they got for 1 1/3, 1 2/3. Maybe you catch fire with somebody who's just got his best stuff on that day, and he's locating on the corners, and he can give you can stretch him out to 2 2/3 or something like that. That's really what you're trying to put together today, is a collection of arms that can maybe piece it all together, and then you find a way to be in the game in the later innings, and your offense carries the day. If you survive today, you kind of hit reset in a weird way. Not completely, but almost, because you are able to then turn to some of those guys that you have entrusted in your biggest moments this year to go back out and pitch for you in another winner-take-all situation, or at least a winner-survive and advance and continue to compete situation. But today's the day. Today's the day that allows us to have the larger discussion. Are they still around after today? Because if so, we can start to create scenarios that get awfully fun for Florida State battling all the way back. And I'd love to see it. Every day that they're around, they become more emboldened. I think every day that they're around, others look out and say, that's probably not the offense you want to face right now. So, become the irritant that we want to be in this College World Series by keeping on and keeping on. Today will be tough, though. Today is an uphill battle, and Florida State is certainly an underdog against North Carolina this afternoon.
Don't let us get to Thursday. Don't you do it, North Carolina. Don't you do it, Tennessee. Don't let us get back to even footing and play on Thursday. That's what the goal is, and if we get there, I feel pretty good, but it's a long way from now. There's a couple of things that I really like. Number one, this assuming you can get past today, and in these 27 outs you can find yourself a victory, it's going to get nasty weather-wise this afternoon and evening in Omaha. So first of all, you want to get the game in, because if it's a slugfest and it's a race to 12 because both pitching staffs are getting, just lambasted by each lineup, then you might not be able to complete the game. But if you can, it's supposed to be really bad weather-wise tonight in Omaha and overnight. So what that would do, if the weather comes to fruition, you're not going to have a game tonight on the other side of the bracket. And now you're in a position where you get an extra half a day's worth of rest for your pitching staff, which is tremendous, because then if you can win tomorrow and you get to Thursday, which I say don't let us do, that recovery time for all of these pieces, another half day makes a huge difference. So that would be a nice result. But today is the volatile one. Today is who knows what the hell we're going to get on the mound. You would like to assume, and you believe at this point you rightfully can, that we're going to produce quite a few runs. But it's hard to know how the game's going to play out, the sequencing of the whole thing. The more outs you can get, though, without allowing North Carolina to scratch it across early, the better, because then it builds the confidence and the belief yet again. And that's the whole thing right now. I think confidence is a humongous part of the equation at this point. When you've got nothing to lose and then you're ahead, you almost feel invincible, even though you could lose and you got to go home. It's just that I think the mentality is more than half the battle at this point. So it would be nice to start from ahead. We'll see how it happens in the next hour.
Yeah, somebody pointed out, by the way, in the chat that Florida State is favored on the Hard Rock app in this bet today. I'm going to do something that ensures a victory for us. I'm going to take North Carolina plus a 1.5 here today, and I'll get that at plus. No, I don't get it at plus money. I get it at minus 170. Isn't that interesting? Okay. Well, the winner for North Carolina is minus 110. If it's Florida State, it's minus 120. Interesting odds that they have out there with minus for these two teams. But I tend to think you can take advantage of places like the Hard Rock and maybe even some of the other bigger betting establishments. When it comes to college baseball, there typically isn't a great depth of understanding of these teams. I mean, they've got in what I would consider it to be a kind of surface level understanding of who's good and who's not and what's what. That's interesting to me that Florida State would be favored in this game today, given that, I mean, let's say it without being rude, they are starting Armstrong.
Well, hang on now. Maybe he has his Will Zierzow moment. Maybe this is the day where Andy Arms says, the hell with this prognostication and this tough love. Here's 17 outs that I'll give you. 2 runs to get those 17 outs. Maybe that's the kind of day Andy Arms has. But I think just like we used to talk about back in the day with these teams that we had that were not as great towards the end of the 11 era, you probably want to have somebody warming up in the bullpen as he's warming up before the first inning. You've got to have guys ready at all times.
So the psychology of that always cracked me up. You cannot have people warming up in the bullpen as your starter walks out to take the bump. You cannot do it. You are just telling him, look, you know and I know that you suck. So just in order to hedge here, we're going to have several men warming up before you throw your first pitch. That is not engendering confidence in your starter.
No, you just gather the entirety of everybody who's in line to pitch today. If you're Link and you're Micah Posey, and say, you can go as long as you want to go if you pitch right for me today. If you've got the control, you could be out there for 10 outs.
Yes.
But you could be out there for 6 pitches.
But here's how much I believe in you to get those 10 outs. I've got some guys warming up while I'm chit-chatting with you right now.
Well, listen, you could just say, hey, you know why you haven't been out there very much since maybe game 1 of the regional a couple of weeks ago? You know damn well why. I don't have to tell you why. So when the announcer says first pitch 109 local time, and they say it's over the middle for a strike from Andrew Armstrong, Florida State has action in the bullpen, one from the right side, one from the left side, 2 pitchers warming for the Noles as we start today. Don't get your feelings hurt. You know where you stand on this team, or else you would have pitched on Friday or Sunday.
I want to interject something kind of cool here. It just happened a moment ago while we were talking, Tom. So you guys, I mean, I try to shine a light into my personal life so that we can all connect. That's kind of the deal here, right? The trade-off of having the greatest job that I can imagine is that you have to give a lot to your audience so that they know you, so that you can literally talk about anything. You can talk about a car if you wanted to, and they might be interested because they know you. All right, that's how this works.
Oh, so is this a live read for a car? A new sponsor?
No, not. So you guys know that both my boys are, well, so one of them is 16 and he plays at Leon. He's a wide receiver. The other one is 14 and he's going into Leon this year. He'll be a freshman and he too is a receiver, at least for now. But he's a freshman, so we'll see what happens. But they're doing their workouts, they're doing all these things. So today, Tom, I thought you should know, and this is why I bring it up. It actually has to do with Florida State baseball and just commitment. Bryce has kind of emerged as a pretty good player going into his junior year. We'll see. I don't know what. I don't try to heap expectations on him, but he made the 7-on-7 travel team, right? So that these high schools all have their 7-on-7 groups that they go and they travel and they play at FSU and they play at other colleges and high schools in the Southeast, right? And I'm not in love with 7-on-7. We all know, we've seen the videos of 7-on-7 where it just gets silly and hostile and dumb. But there's also an awful lot that you can learn. And typically it also means that you're going to be kind of counted on to be a dude for your team if you're out there doing these things now this upcoming year. So he had to get up at 4:00 in the morning today, Tom, to go to Leon to get on the bus to drive to Alabama to compete in this 7-on-7 tournament. All right. And he is starting in the slot for them. Well, anyhow, he texts me today as this tournament is going on, and he's had a good day. He scored a couple times, and he's played well, and he's got several catches, and whatever. It's 7-on-7, you better. Well, just now as we start the show, hey, Dad, quick break before the next game. What time do the Noles play today? Now, how awesome is that? It's happened. The transformation, it's it. He is as thorough a Nole as you can be. My man's in the middle of Alabama in a damn 7-on-7 tournament, and in between games, the only thing he texts me is that I'm playing pretty well. I've scored a couple of times. What time do the Noles start? How great is that? That just puts a smile on my face big time. Good for him. Good for him.
You know, a lot of what we do is searching for answers, but truthfully, it's the right question that does enlighten everybody, and it lights up a room. And that, young man, is the right question. What time do the Noles play indeed? And they do. First pitch usually is 9 after the hour in Omaha. We are the road team today, just because both teams are 1-1. In case you were wondering, we will be batting first today in Omaha.
We got a couple of questions in here, and I'll answer a lot of questions for you guys today in this 1 hour that we're together live. Some of you have asked, why don't we have more starting pitching? Well, we had 3 starters go down for the year, for much of the year. One of them has been able to come back. The other 2, and I count Ben Barrett there, he would have been a midweek starter, would have been your guy, and today he would have been starting, period. He would have been starting had you had him come back to a place where he could be effective. But he's not been healthy, and they've run him back out there, and they tried to get him out there, and it just hasn't worked. Obviously, no Leiter today. He's not been able to go either, and so you're in a tough situation. Whitaker is your third guy, and he pitched quite a bit in the first game against Tennessee. So you just don't have the requisite number of arms in this situation. Now, remember, you might ask, how is that possible? Well, A, you had injuries. And B, remember, at the time that Link came in, this program had really suffered a downturn, and now you got a new coach, and you have some people who decide to leave. You brought in a big-time arm that you were going to count on this year to pitch for you, and before they ever played a single game, he was lost for the year. You then lost, as I mentioned before, legitimately 2 to 3 starters in the course of the year, and Lynx had 1 year to flip the roster. And I might add, he's done a remarkable job because here they stand in the College World Series. But you can't get it all back in one season. You're just not going to have the ability to recruit the depth necessary at certain positions in just 1 year. So that's to answer your question why they don't have it. Now, that's not to suggest for those that don't follow baseball that they literally don't have anybody in the bullpen. There are a ton of dudes that exist on the team with RP or SP next to their name, but they're like either freshmen or guys that are transfers that haven't been counted on at the course of the season, that have gotten very limited looks at all. They're guys that you're building towards a brighter future, who you're going to extend by, 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 innings in the future, but weren't expected to play much of a role at all this year, certainly not in the College World Series. So there's not a dearth of legitimate, talented people that are going to play the position for you, but rather experience and maturity that you're lacking at this point. So that's where Florida State stands right now. I think I hate to approach that as a literalist, but I think some people have asked the question, perhaps being literalist, not thinking we actually have people who play the position that we could tab to go take the diamond. When I see certain questions like that, I'm not trying to insult your intelligence. I just think it's a kind of a question that maybe from a person who wants Florida State to do well but doesn't watch baseball.
Yeah, that would be like from somebody who doesn't watch pro baseball as well, because every fan of a pro baseball team has 2 or 3 dudes in their bullpen that they don't want to see. And if they do see them, it better be 10-0 one way or the other, because that's the only time they're coming in, not 3-2 in the 7th. I don't care that you got 3 guys that are unavailable. You are not bringing Heilman in out of the bullpen. I do not want to see Aaron Heilman pitch in this situation. Florida State has dudes who have gotten outs on Tuesdays, lots of them, and you're going to see him today. Today does happen to be Tuesday as well, so maybe there's a little midweek magic for these guys. Yeah. But I would make sure when anybody's on the mound, somebody else is also on the corresponding mound that is out of the field of play and known as the bullpen.
You know what you wish? You really wish you could warm guys up in secret, where the sound of the ball hitting the mitt doesn't resonate throughout the ballpark. That's the hard part. You're like, we believe in you. Andrew, you're going to do great today. I trust you to get these big outs when we need them. Meanwhile, over your shoulder down the line, you hear pah, pah, the sound of several pitches hitting mitts in your bullpen. That's a toughie. That is a toughie.
Link forgets that the walkie-talkie he left with it, and it's on his neck. He's got it attached to his neck. And it's like, Holtz is ready in case he blows it again. You didn't hear that, young man. Go get him. Yeah. Go get him. We believe in you.
If Andrew looks shaky like we both talked about earlier, make sure you go first. That's a good bit, actually. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Attention, Florida. Are you a victim of an auto accident? We introduce our live chat sponsor, Hyson Leaka Law Firm, dedicated to representing injured clients statewide. If you've been in an accident, call Hyson Leaka Law Firm at 813-803-0733 for a free consultation. Remember, there's no cost to you unless they win. Your interests come first with Hyson Leaka Law Firm, the name you can trust for justice. Call 813-803-0733 now or visit HysonLeakaLawFirm.com. Hyson Leaka Law Firm, your advocate in times of need.
To take it on down the road. Call Don or Joe today at 844-464-6653. That's 844-464-6653. When you do business with Tried and True, they contribute 10% of the net revenue to the Battle's End. So go Tried and True today. Call 844-464-6653.
Dream it, plan it, do it. Brian Barnard's Flooring America offers a straightforward way to shop with our streamlined shopping. Finding the right flooring is simple. Visit our newly remodeled showroom featuring the Room to Explore shopping experience, where our knowledgeable staff will walk you through the steps. Our family has been serving the area since 1976 with a local staff of more than 35 people trained in flooring sales and design. We know floors, and we know styles. Let us help make your home timeless. Brian Barnard's Flooring America, where friends send friends.
I'm Robert, and I'm a general pest technician at Paul's Termite and Pest Control. I have a fantastic job working for an amazing company. Every day, I take great satisfaction in knowing the work I do helps protect the health of the customers I'm honored to serve, and their pets too. Many are now my friends. Paul's is a local North Florida-based company, and they are constantly teaching all of us techs about the ever-changing needs of our unique part of the world.
I'm Jay, and having the privilege to work with people like Robert and all of our employees is truly an honor. There is no doubt that the staff of Paul's Termite and Pest Control is the best in our industry. All of our people are local, and local really does mean something. We're North Floridians. Our kids go to school here. We shop here. We build relationships here, and we honor our commitments. To all of our customers, thanks for trusting us to protect your family, pets, and home.
For the elimination of termites, any other pests, and a greener lawn too, call Paul's. We'll get them all.
Feeling hungry but don't want to leave the house? Download the Foodies Takeout and Delivery app and earn points and rewards on every order while supporting local at the same time. Other food deliveries like DoorDash and Uber Eats are taking upwards of 20 to 30% directly out of our local restaurants' pockets, while Foodies does not. Keep money local and support your favorite local restaurants such as El Jalisco, Gordo's, Jerry's, Smitty's Tap House, and many more. Download the free app today and start earning your rewards instantly. Just search for Foodies Takeout and Delivery in any app store or order online at foodiestakeout.com.
Searching for the best place to host an event for your friends and family? The Golf Club at Summerbrook is more than just a place for a round of golf. It's also one of the best choices for hosting and celebrating the most special days in your life. From rehearsal dinners and baby showers to corporate banquets and kids' birthday parties, you'll receive amazing personal service and attention to every detail when you choose the Golf Club at Summerbrook. Find out how affordable it can be and call us today at 850-894-GOLF. That's 850-894-GOLF.
Life is stressful. Dinner shouldn't be. That motto is why Register Sausage has been doing business in the Florida Panhandle and Lower Alabama for over 75 years. A proud sponsor of Seminole Headlines, Register Sausage always provides the best Southern smoked sausage to over 140 grocery stores and restaurants throughout the Southeast. Headliners have discovered the Register's difference. You can too. To find a store that carries Registers near you or to buy directly, head to registermeats.com. That's registermeats.com. Register Sausage. Yay, sausage!
Location. The Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness. 2 Tallahassee locations, Midtown on Thomasville Road and Northside in the Village Common Shopping Center. Online at orangetheoryfitness.com.
How about your boy getting innovative right there, huh?
What'd you do?
That's pretty good.
Yeah. How'd you do that? What'd you do?
I hit the damn liner and I shut up the thing.
Oh, so you hit stop on it?
That's the technical term. Yeah. I was like, I'm doing this. You shut up
Listen
and you
here.
run.
Listen here, you little doohickey. You're going to do what I tell you to do.
You're going to do what I tell you to. I thought people made computers. But, yeah, there it is. There it is. Hey, by the way, speaking of people we appreciate, Heisen Legal Law Firm, dedicated to representing injured clients statewide. If you've been in an accident, call Heisen Legal Law Firm at 813-803-0733 for free consultation. Remember, no cost to you unless they win. Your interests come first with Heisen Legal Law Firm, the name you can trust for justice. Call 813-803-0733 now or visit HeisenLegalLawFirm.com. Heisen Legal Law Firm, your advocate in times of need. Offices Tampa. This one cracks me up, by the way, on the screen if you're watching. Look at the very concerned look at the end here with these fake pictures. I mean, I get it. That's what you got to do. But there's the one, maybe it's at the very beginning, that look on that look of consternation on that woman's face, like, oh, we've got a brutal case we're dealing with here today, guys. You have to take pictures right now. I can't believe how difficult this case is going to be.
Do you know where that is? It's UT. I recognize those halls. That's University of Tampa.
Oh, that's funny.
You ever been by that campus?
Yes, I've been by it's pretty, actually.
It is.
Very pretty.
It's
yeah,
really
yeah.
pretty. Yeah.
No, live spectator, I did not swear on air. I cut it off because we had the wrong liner. We had the Seminole Headlines liner, and today is not Seminole Headlines because Ira's there covering the great game of baseball for us, and that's where he'll be at 2 o'clock for first pitch. At 2 o'clock, perhaps you'll be listening to the Jeff Cameron Show, hour number 2, which is going to be kind of counter-programming, as I said before, largely centered around non-baseball talk, mostly Florida State football talk. So that's what you'll get in hour number 2 that is recorded.
Yeah, I'd say 37 minutes or so of Florida State football talk. Team for about 30 of that, and then a little bit of recruiting towards the end as well. But yeah, it's a comprehensive look and some good conversations. It's one of the better things this year. One of the better things in general about getting good as a football program is you got a lot of storylines. You really could do an elevator speech longer than that on every one of the players we've had in the top 40. There's compelling storylines, probably about 50 deep on this roster, which is pretty cool because the last however long it's been at most 20, maybe 25 if you really stretched it, but not 45, not 50. So that's the good part is we talk about a couple of offensive targets, and man, we could have gone on for a half an hour about them.
Yeah, it became fun because we both illuminated different aspects of these players' games and what we expect from them or what is needed from them, what's possible. Briley asked a question yesterday in the chat that I did not get to. I happened to see it, but we were talking about something else. I didn't get to it, but about guys that emerged from spring that perhaps in our minds we elevated from, maybe they were going to be contributors to guys that we think now could be heavily relied upon, guys that we thought were going to be starters that we now think have a chance to be an all-conference type player or an all-American type player, if there's anybody like that. And conversely, perhaps guys that we thought maybe we could pencil in at the very least into a starter's role that we're now not so sure. Perhaps they've gone the other direction because that exists as well. And I think there's some guys in limbo right now on this roster that have a very important camp in front of them, a very important offseason that they're in the midst of right now. I think that there are some, because the competition has gotten so much better, and that is where you want to live as a staff. You recruit over everybody. That is their job. I think Willie Taggart, that is the one thing he said that I nodded and said that is the right way to explain to players their job and yours. And that is that it is my job to recruit over you. It is my job to go out and bring in the best possible players I can find, some of which will play the position you're at. And your job is to ensure that they don't beat you out for that position that you're currently holding down and have a head start on. That is true. That is true. That is, if we're being realists about this, that is a coach's job. And I know that in the past, where we were as a program most recently was if you showed me the starting 22, there were a lot of guys that I'd say, okay, pretty good players that we're lacking here, got to get a little bit better here. He's a good player. But then where you got nervous was when you looked at the second string and the third string and you thought none of these guys, and you would even dare say this definitively, but you would look and say none of these guys can beat out those guys. And that is not where you ever want to be. I think most coaches want to go into a situation where perhaps they even have, barring quarterback as All-American first-round status or something, for the most part, at every other position, you want to look and go, if so-and-so doesn't get it together, I'm really tempted to go to, boom, player B, player C, who's shown me something, who's worked hard, has a ton of natural athletic ability, is more explosive than they were when they first got here, and are demanding they get an opportunity by pressing the number one guy every day at practice. You want to be in that position. And once you are, that competition leads to greatness. It is the kind of goofy fun we have with the tongue-in-cheek iron sharpens iron comments that we're always talking about. But Florida State has finally arrived at that place. I think there are a lot of guys pushing other guys for starters roles.
It's interesting to see. It will be interesting to see because they haven't done it yet. How do you stick the landing with high school recruiting and the transitioning off of the transfer portal? Or do you always live with the transfer portal as a primary means of building your roster? The one thing I like about the portal, that very much like about the portal, is it seems like the class of player that we bring in is gifted, but also is of one mind. And they more easily listen to the coaching staff because they're here after stopping somewhere else. So they don't have to fail the first time or learn a hard lesson for the first time. They've already learned a hard truth. They've already faced an adversity, whether it be nobody cared about them coming out of high school or their previous situation at the other university didn't work out because they weren't high enough on the depth chart or because they outgrew the school that they went to, whatever it is. I love that part about this roster. I'm not saying that high school kids can't comprise a culture that you want to root for at the level that we've seen the last couple of years. I'm just saying it's harder to pull that off. It's much easier to put together a roster of transfer portal players that are ready to go and about the business and about the action. I wonder how they gracefully hand that off and maybe shift the numbers a little bit and skew it more heavily towards high school. Or do they ever do it? Maybe they stumbled onto something that they like.
You're always then, if you don't have kids coming down the pike of high quality and unique clay that you're molding, if you don't have that and you're solely reliant on the big swing in the portal every year, I think you're going to have some empty seasons. I think you're going to have some years where it just doesn't go your way or the money is too great and the market is being reset by a number you're not willing to come up to, and thus you don't have a player at a key position that can win or help win you football games or at least not cost you dearly. I think that they've found a way to largely get around that. And for the most part, that therein lies their great success, along with the coaching acumen. Mike's a very, very good offensive mind, and he's found a way at times to make chicken salad out of you-know-what. But I would tell you that I don't want to go that route. I think you can do it more than people think you can. That has been proven. You can sustain successful season year over year by finding some gems out there in the portal. You can. But I think to reach the highest levels of dominance, to be a team that competes to win national championships more often than not, you're going to have to ascend with your high school recruiting. You're going to have to find the five-star talent and get them to say yes. They probably will do that. We have a discussion like this next hour to some extent, so I won't go further down that road. But Tom and I, we do talk about this next hour. These are the areas where we're just checking boxes. So far, the coaching staff, if we were checking boxes about the on and off the field stuff, have largely been, rewarded with a yes in that column. Largely been rewarded with a yes in that column. There's still a couple that we're waiting to check, and high school recruiting is amongst them.
Well, the thing is that with the talent pool post high school, it's like anything else. It's a pyramid, and towards the top of the pyramid are the Alabamas and Georgias and Ohio States of the world. And to some degree, the Power 2 conferences. They're going to be at the top of the pyramid because they'll be able to pay the most.
Yeah.
But there may have been a circumstance where a kid felt more compelled to stick with a group of 5 team or a mid-tier team in a world that didn't include NIL. But now, 2 things happen. Number 1, if a kid wants greater exposure, they want to come play for Florida State or play for a school like that. Number 2, they want to make some money. It's not guaranteed that they're going to be a professional. The NIL is helping force these kids up the pyramid, ladder, level by level to get to Florida State. So while I would agree it's not the wisest course of action to assume that there's going to be a solution presented for you in the portal, the numbers would suggest there are tons of dudes out there in FCS group of 5 to, non-group of two, which is us, Division II, Division III, our evaluations are off the charts. Like that would be, I would think, in the non-coaching and development part of what it is our staff does, the evaluations for kids out of the portal, specific to the portal, off the freaking charts.
Yeah, they've only missed on a couple, and that was when they just had to fill some holes. Other than that, they yes, in terms of tabbing starters, you're right. They have largely nailed it. There have been a few that but that's anybody. That's anybody. They've largely nailed it, which has been awesome. By the way, our friends at Tried and True are also awesome, and they want to help you save and make money. Right now, you got an opportunity to choose from some special offers over the summer. $1,000 off a point-of-sale system, no gateway charges for 1 year, a free video menu or ad board when you become a Tried and True client. The offer is being extended from today through July 31st, so get in on the savings. Don't forget 10% of the net revenue will go to the battle's end. Call Don or Joe, 844-463-6653, 844 I'm for Noel, or if you're watching on Warchant TV, you can scan that QR code, not cold. You don't have a cold. Scan that QR code, and you're all good for details. Tell them you want the Jeff Cameron Show special. That's really true in life. I think you should walk around, enter any number of dwellings, and say you'd like the Jeff Cameron Show special. You know quality is forthcoming. Jeff Cameron Show 93.3, Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Your local news now.
Thomasville police announced Friday morning that they were searching for two individuals who are wanted for terroristic threats and harassment. They are searching for Joseph Elkins and Michaela Sharp. They were both contacted by law enforcement and told to turn themselves in, but they have failed to cooperate. The two are believed to be in Florida and have at least one firearm. Police said they could be traveling in a black Dodge Ram truck. The National Weather Service will soon be halting their daily weather balloon launches. Due to a global supply chain disruption of helium, the twice daily launches will be indefinitely suspended on July 1st. The NWS launches the balloons at 100 local offices across the nation and in the Caribbean. There's a plan in the works to convert some locations over to hydrogen gas, but no timetable has been announced for the conversion. On days when severe weather is expected or before a tropical system makes landfall, specific NWS offices will be instructed to launch an extra balloon to help fine-tune the forecast. This is Rachel Anay with your Real Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MclemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times this afternoon with daytime highs approaching 93. East winds 10 to 15 miles per hour. Partly cloudy skies tonight, lows dip down to about 74. Slight chance of rain showers tomorrow. Daytime highs approaching 93. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times. This report is brought to you by The Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, it's 86 degrees.
Did you know that the survivability of a metal roof far exceeds that of a traditional shingle roof? At Metal Roofing Sales of Tallahassee, we have new state-of-the-art roll formers that produce the highest quality Versa panel, PBR panel, and standing seam options. And we will guarantee to match or beat any local competitor's pricing. We're a family-owned business, ready to offer you the best sales and installation service in the area. And don't forget about our veterans and first responders discounts. Call Metal Roofing Sales today, 850-536-9123. Or visit us online at metalroofingSales.net.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take-home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus, happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas wall, featuring 560 inches of flat-screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Life is stressful. Dinner shouldn't be. That motto is why Register Sausage has been doing business in the Florida Panhandle and Lower Alabama for over 75 years. A proud sponsor of Seminole Headlines, Register Sausage always provides the best Southern smoked sausage to over 140 grocery stores and restaurants throughout the Southeast. Headliners have discovered the Register's difference. You can too. To find a store that carries Registers near you or to buy directly, head to registermeats.com. That's registermeats.com. Register Sausage. Yay, sausage!
Hey, this is Brian Kilmeade, and I want to hear from you, Tallahassee. Don't miss my show live from 9 till noon, each and every weekday on Real Talk 93.3, Tallahassee's Real Talk station.
The Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness. 2 Tallahassee locations, Midtown on Thomasville Road and Northside in the Village Common Shopping Center. Online at orangetheoryfitness.com.
Had a question in the chat. That question had to do with all things Florida State baseball, which begins in 17 minutes or so. Tom has done the right thing here in terms of the batting order. See who is in the field, and it's the same as it's been, as it rightfully should be. Good to see that Max is out there because he's been dealing with a little something from an injury standpoint. Nothing catastrophic, obviously, but he's really been a gamer in that regard. Smith, Tibbs, Dinges, Ferrer, Cantu, Lodice. How about Lodice? He's really hit the ball hard in at bat after at bat after at bat, showing real power from that right side. Farrow and West is how you round it out in the batting order. And your starting pitcher today is Armstrong, who some of you have asked about where are we going to start. I think I shouldn't say it's irrelevant. It's kind of irrelevant who starts. It's a matter of, do you find somebody to maybe give you a little bit more than the season statistics suggest that you would get? Is somebody going to go out there and play above and beyond the back of their baseball card? Do you have a kid that's you've thrown in there situationally midweek to get a righty out or two in a lineup, but he's young and you haven't expected him to do much more than that, but all of a sudden you look out there and you can tell he's lathered up and feeling it, and he's pinpoint accurate at that point, and you say, you know what? Let's let him go. He's feeling good. The moment doesn't feel too big for him. He's locating. It's a big ballpark. He can use his fastball to get out of trouble. He's not walking, folks, which is what you really worry about with this pin. This pin, the guys that come out of this pin, their biggest trouble, besides inexperience in some cases, it's not stuff. They've got plenty of guys with stuff. It's the inability to locate. And a time period in which the strike zone has shrunk in college baseball. So I think the adjustment from high school to college baseball is tougher than ever before in terms of the strike zone. Now, kids are more equipped with swing and miss stuff like never before coming out of high school because they have been chasing velocity for a much longer period of time and starting at an earlier age. So it's an interesting juxtaposition when you look at the strike zone and the strikes that you're not getting, that you're accustomed to getting in high school, but the ability then to understand that if I have to come into the zone, I got late life and I'm throwing low 90s at a young age, take your chances. Maybe somebody turns it around. Certainly Honeycutt and guys like that can, but there aren't a lot of rosters that have the depth of, major league level hitters that you wouldn't take your chances on in the zone rather than walk the world. So they gotta, make guys earn it today. If you get beat because you've got some young talent that, is leaving too many middle and they're hitting them hard and they're finding holes, I'll live with that. What you can't stand and what really leads to a crooked number quick and an ugly day at the office is a bunch of guys on base via the walk where you're not making the guys earn it. Next thing you know, it's a 3-run bomb instead of a solo shot. It's a bases clearing double instead of an RBI double. And that's just, you can't have that. We've had some ugly innings be born out of that inability to locate.
Well, let me make you a little bit more nervous with what's coming today just because of the weather conditions. Now, there's bad weather rolling in this afternoon. And with lightning detectors being what they are, the sooner you can wrap up the game one way or the other, the better. Sustained winds of 20 miles an hour, gusts upwards of 40, between 35 and 40 miles an hour gusts. So you're going to have a Wrigley Field kind of day here. It's the temperatures in the mid-80s. I think the wind is keeping the temperature down. But you're going to deal with high winds blowing across the field from right field to left field, a little bit in from right. Be very, very difficult to hit a home run out to right field. Left, you might get a little bit of a jet stream. But any pop-up on the infield, any high fly ball in the outfield is going to require a crazy adjustment because I'm looking at the wind chart for the entirety of the game, it would appear. Sustained winds at or above 20 miles an hour and gusts near 40. So it's going to be an adventure for both teams in the field every time the ball is hit in the air.
How quickly is that weather descending upon Omaha? Sounds a little bit faster than they would have anticipated. I know that the Midwest is weird. Somebody's commenting on it right now in the chat. I know. I've been out there. I've seen it switch from blazingly hot to really ugly, intense winds to cold to back to hot to rainy. I know it's kind of par for the course out there, but if they're going to be, I'll tell you this, I don't know that it's reasonable for people to play baseball in 40 to 50 mile per hour winds, Tom. I would think they would delay the game.
Sorry, I muted myself. Yeah, that's gusty. The gusts. Now, the sustained conditions aren't quite that bad. It's supposed to lightly rain in Omaha in about 15 minutes. Now, again, these apps that we have on our phone are not quite the same level of the National Weather Service from these particular areas, but they do a pretty good job of forecasting things like wind velocity. I can tell you that from experience living here where there's a lot of it. It's just, again, anytime anything's in the air, it's going to be an adventure. It looks like the weather, the real weather, the kind that can stop the game, would be about 3 hours from now, or maybe a little bit more than 3 hours from now. I think the wind is what is preceding that weather. At least that's according to their forecasts. I'm not going to go to the mattresses for a meteorologist, please, because that is not a smart wager. But yeah, just be ready. Popped them up on the infield. Hold your breath for both teams.
Well, I'm holding my breath that we get a giant bolt of lightning in 5 minutes with gusts up to 70 miles per hour, in which they tell people to flee for their lives and we'll see you tomorrow. That's what I'm holding my breath for. Let's get to, hey, we can't play today, guys. Inclement weather, not worth risking it. We'll play tomorrow. May have to push it back by 2 days. Don't know. We'll see. The funny thing about this, if it were a different, as Jimbo would say, if it were a different, and we had the upper hand with pitching, and the team that we were facing desperately needed an extra day off, I can all but assure you these winds would come whipping in out of nowhere, and it would be 60 and 70 miles per hour, followed by huge bouts of lightning, in which everything would be pushed back by 24 hours, and the number one draft pick to be would stand on the bump against the team that you were facing in a elimination game the following day. I can almost guarantee it. That's the way it works out there. It's nonsense. We could use a little love, baseball gods. We could use a little wind, a little lightning, a little rain, a big delay, desperately. Might I tell you about my friends at Pinch a Penny Pools and Spas? Perhaps you need a new spa. You want to relax. You don't want to feel the stress that we all feel right now. Well, here's the deal. You got that old whirlpool from the past. You've got the spa from the past that you don't like, the hot tub that ain't getting it done. It's worn out, and it's just a bear to try to lug and move it and get it out of there. Well, Pinch a Penny will come get it, haul it away, and give you money towards your new one. And all of a sudden, that luxurious hot tub that you've wanted for a while becomes affordable. If you have an older hot tub, you've been putting it off, go get a new one. They'll come out, pick up the old one, install the new one. Bam, just like that. You're living a life of luxury. It's easy to do. Check them out. Have an amazing hot tub is not that far out of reach. Go see them today on Greer Road, and find out for yourself how easy and affordable it really is. Pinch a Penny Pools and Spas, if you're ready to relax, they're ready to show you how. All right, in the waning moments, yay or nay, we surprised everybody, get a win, keep on keeping on.
Is it a surprise?
I think it'd be a surprise. I've said I'm going to be consistent with this. There are holes on this team that would make it surprising if they were to push to a final series. One of those is the lack of arms. You're now facing a team that has a good lineup, a very good lineup with a lot of arms. That usually spells doom. I worry about it. I think that we're going to probably hit because that's what they've done. They've been sensational in the postseason. They've been sensational offensively almost all year long. But, man, it's trust. It's tough to trust what we've seen. It's not a knock on the kids. We know a lot of them still have a long way to go in their development, and we think that some guys that have been hit around a little bit this year are going to be very vital to you moving forward. But I don't know that they're ready for this just yet. And I'm not saying they can't win. I'm not even saying that I'd be stunned, but I would be mildly surprised if they won today. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, this one's a coin flip, I think. And that's a credit to where Florida State is, because to your point on paper, North Carolina is more suited for this specific task. Now, if we were playing last Friday in game one, I believe it's Knowles by.
Yeah, me too.
I feel okay. I feel this is just
You feel okay because we don't have anything to lose.
Yeah, and I also here's the other thing I like about Link Jarrett in this situation is, we've had midweeks where it's a 10-run lead or a 6-run lead. The game is decided, and a kid throws 6 straight out of the zone. He just comes out of the pen and he removes him from the game. Like he's quick. He's quick to act in a way that you don't have a starter that you trust, frees you up to be absolutely ruthless to say, Micah, you're not going out there. This is a one visit because that's the only one I need. We're going straight to the bullpen. You don't need to tell him anything. I'm ready to go. I love how quick he is to act in neutral situations. On a day like today, it's about merit. It's a meritocracy out there, young man. If you
throw strikes, I'll leave you out there. You don't, we're out. We're pulling you quick.
Very simple. One hard hit ball, and I don't like the velo, the way that came off. Well, there'll be other opportunities down the line. Just not today, young man. I love that about Link. So, and you do have the numbers to throw at the problem. You just don't have the quality, proven consistent quality to throw at the problem.
Yeah, it's funny when you watch Link in the bullpen and they cut over to him with the camera. He's got that intense scowl at all times. He's a very focused, intense man. He's looking at a number of factors that are helping him make these decisions. And you're right, when he's in a situation like this, he'll scour like a sheet of paper, a placard that he's got in front of him, and he's looking at it, and he's got that walkie-talkie right in front of him, and he looks back down at it. He looks over at Micah, and he looks back down, and then that hand reaches for the walkie-talkie. Like, he's seen enough. He's like, that was 88. Normally throws 94. Yeah, I'm going to need somebody to get up. This is nonsense. He doesn't have it today. It's like, this is really, really quick. Today, put it on warp speed, baby. I saw somebody say, just refuse to go to the bullpen. There's no such thing. You can't just keep running a kid out there who just started and have him start again. That is, you'll get sued. But you can obviously empty the bullpen. And we'll see. I think it should be a lot of fun because you, again, are probably well beyond where you expected to be before this season started. A reminder that if it goes south and you've got those moments where your pen is getting tattooed and it looks unnavigable, like what you saw with the Duke game in the ACC championship, where you were simply out of arms and things got out of control, that's on the table. That's on the table today, and it gets to be insurmountable, and then you just kind of nod and go, all right. But maybe it doesn't happen. Maybe you're the one lambasting North Carolina pitching, and the next thing you know, you're on the cusp of winning a game 15-11, old school 90s College World Series game.
Maybe it's them. Yeah, they rallied down from 7-1. It's 7-5, feeling pretty good. Go to the next half inning, we score 6 more, and they go. And you look in their dugout, and you see that faraway stare, and they're saying, our season's over. That could be it. And then you're that much closer to letting us get to Thursday.
Hour number 2 is a kind of counter-programming for those that don't care about baseball. The beginning of hour number 2 is a lot of baseball. The rest of it is all football. If you're going to stick around for hour number 2 of the Jeff Cameron Show, that was recorded just before the start of today's show, so that Tom and I could go watch the baseball game like you guys are doing. I will talk to you live tomorrow. Be well, everybody. Go Noles. And peace.
Attention, Florida. Are you a victim of an auto accident? We introduce our live chat sponsor, Hyson Leaka Law Firm, dedicated to representing injured clients statewide. If you've been in an accident, call Hyson Leaka Law Firm at 813-803-0733 for a free consultation. Remember, there's no cost to you unless they win. Your interests come first with Hyson Leaka Law Firm, the name you can trust for justice. Call 813-803-0733 now or visit HysonLeakaLawFirm.com. Hyson Leaka Law Firm, your advocate in times of need.
Number 2, Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3, Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. This is the recorded hour, not the live hour that you just heard, because Florida State's playing baseball right now in the College World Series in Omaha, and I'm going to go watch it. I'm not going to be stuck here. I say stuck. I love my job, but I want to watch the game just as everybody else is. But Tom and I have figured long ago, being the radio strategists that we are, that you can counter program sometimes and give something for everybody that doesn't care about baseball, for example. Now you can hear us talk about other things, perhaps golf. Scared you. Football, we'll talk some football. We'll get into some other things too, I guess. It'll be a free-flowing 2 o'clock hour as it's wont to be. Hopefully Florida State wins in what I think will be a slugfest today. At the time that Tom and I sat down to record this hour, we had no idea who was going to start. I texted Eric Llewellyn. Don't mind revealing that on the air. He said he had no idea who was going to start today, unless it's been announced between the time that we record this and the time that this is airing at 2. I don't think Florida State has any idea. This is sort of a let's piece it all together, see if we can get an inning out of Joe Schmo and Larry Bo Bob and Willie Smith and all these guys that nobody's heard of today. And
don't
see
forget about Joey Boombots. Joey Boombots.
I need Boombots to get 2 outs today from the left side. So, yeah, it's you got to do what you got to do. You throw a bunch of guys out there. I will tell you that I don't feel good about this situation, but I do feel good about the bats. So maybe, just maybe, there's an opportunity for Florida State to win a 12-11 type game and stay alive. And if that happens, okay. All right, look out. I'll be officially nervous if they win today.
There you go. Okay, so you got a little bit more hope than yesterday. Because
I still don't see us climbing all the way out. It seems unlikely, but there would be the percentage chance that it happens will go up considerably if you find a way to win today. Obviously, A, you're still playing, but B, you had that other day's rest, and you can throw some of your meatier guys on short days rest.
Let me throw another thing out there that give you just a little bit of hope. It's not a ton, but they're supposed to get dumped on beginning around 4 or 5 o'clock in Omaha for a few hours tonight. I mean, it's apparently going to be very heavy rains. I don't think playable conditions because they're saying potential thunderstorms. Just every little bit helps. Let's just say that happens. You get through this game. It's a game where you assume nothing. We could be up 5. We could be down 5. Don't leave. Don't change the channel. Our bats can rally for 6. Our bullpen can give up 6 at a moment's notice. So it's going to be an interesting game down to the final out, I would imagine. But if you get through it and there's bad weather overnight tonight in Omaha and they can't play that night game, that pushes you back an extra 6 hours or so. Tomorrow, you play in a little bit later of a game. They might try to squeeze things up a little bit, but it's supposed to rain tomorrow morning in Omaha. Every hour counts for recovery time for your pitchers. So get through today. This is the most volatile of games until the weekend, if you're lucky enough to make it there.
So if you win today, yeah, Tom, if you win today, you're scheduled to play what, 7 p.m. the next day on Wednesday?
No, it's afternoon again tomorrow, but that's where the weather can help push you into the evening hours. So again, every minute helps for recovery time. Link Jarrett thinks that way. That's how he decided to make Carson Dorsey his first pitcher in the Super Regional versus the Regional, because he's counting the hours of recovery time for Jamie Arnold. It was not enough in that situation for him to flip the order between Arnold and Dorsey. So every minute counts, every hour counts. This is the volatile one, though. You got a lot of work to do between now and the weekend, but you've got solutions, at least for several innings, from some of your long guys tomorrow and Thursday, if you're lucky enough to make it to those 2 places.
Oh, yeah, the whole thing just gets to be really fun if you find a way to win today. A, you're still playing. You're one of the few teams playing if you win today that remain. At that point, you scratch off teams, and you're like, they're one of the last 6. They're one of the last 5. They're one of the last 4. Honestly, everything is a huge step forward this year, and I would also just say that the reason I don't like tonight's matchup or today's matchup is that the strength of the North Carolina team beyond Honeycutt's ABs, which is something to behold, that guy's going to be a good pro, is the fact that they just have so many arms. They just have so many guys that they use. And I think that's what Link's building towards. I think he's going to build towards a pin like that. He's been not so subtle when having those conversations with us on this show, where he's talked about, you got to have more arms. You got to have more arms. You see it He talked about it last year. He talked about it this year in the middle of a great season. He was like, well, clearly you can see we play some teams that have an advantage out of that bullpen. We're going to have to find a way to get more arms. Like, he keeps saying it. He knows the deal. And then, when you get out there and you see a team like Carolina, you're like, well, it'd be nice if I had 7 guys I thought could throw strikes, but I don't.
Well, if you did, you'd be 2-0, and you would be in the catbird seat, and you would probably be well, I couldn't go that far. You'd be in the best of 3, and it would be very, very interesting about where you go. Now, some of those answers are in that bullpen today. Some of those answers may be on the mound this afternoon in Omaha. It's just they need development, and they need some maturity and confidence and time. But you see the ingredients that they're working with. And I wonder, this is, since the game's going on, for next year's group, just very quickly, I would anticipate they're going to be better, ERA lower, pitching more consistent, but it will be very hard to duplicate this type of offensive production. Tibbs and Tibbs and Cam Smith in the middle of that order, and if Din just goes, he's eligible as well. That's an awful lot to replace in 1 year in terms of production. So I would assume that this group would be less explosive at the plate, but if they're more consistent on the mound, that's a trade-off that you're willing to make, and it could still get you where you want to go. It's just, I hope this is not the end for this offensive group. Get the balls juiced, and that helps a lot of things in terms of the entirety of college baseball. The numbers are up for home runs, power runs, and production. This is still a special group, and this is an offense that's capable of hoisting the trophy at the end. Hopefully they just do enough today to get us to tomorrow and the next day and so forth.
They'll be much better pitching next year, and they will not be nearly as good offensively next year. It would be almost impossible to be. But they can be good. They can be good offensively. They won't be this. This is silly. And, one of the things when you look at Ferrer, that guy's got a tight, compact swing. He's all muscle and speed. That's going to play at the next level. He doesn't have a position at the next level. He's going to have to be a DH somewhere, but lucky for him, both leagues employ it. So he will, if you can hit, they always used to talk about that with the foreign-born players out of the Dominican and the various places like Puerto Rico and stuff. They say you hit your way off the island, you don't walk. So you find a way to just hit the ball. You'll go to the bigs. You'll make it to the majors. John Ford Griffin didn't have a position, made it to the majors because of that bat. That's all that is. It's hard to hit a baseball, and guys who do it well get opportunities to do it, despite the deficiencies. Top 40 list has been updated and promoted and pushed on warchant.com, Tom. And I would bring it up here. Obviously, if you haven't been paying attention, our staff ranked the players. We are the original of the top 40 players rankings list of the groups that cover Florida State football. Old school. And if you missed 36 through 40, you can click on it and find it on the site. 31 through 35, you can do the same, 26 through 30, 21 through 25. And the latest installment is 16 through 20. I don't know. I'm probably catching you off guard a little bit with this, but I don't know if we want to post how the voting occurred. But I will tell you who those folks are. I can update you on that. Tight end Kyle Morlock, who I want to talk about for a second. I do have those numbers in front of me. Gene had him at 18, Ira 17, Corey 21. I had him at 27. Tom, you had him at 20. Aslan also had him at 27. And Matt Lacera had him at 12. Let's talk about the role of tight end Kyle Morlock. I think it's an interesting one.
So the reason I put him as high as 20 is because of the dearth of proven wide receiver targets. So I think his value goes up in that situation as a pass catcher. Mm-hmm. And speaking to Chris Thompson, he says that the number one thing for Kyle in this offseason is to get stronger so he can block better. If he is an adequate to better than adequate blocker, I'd be surprised. When it's all shaking out at the end of this year. That doesn't mean that they can't develop, and Chris Thompson hasn't done a good job of that position. Doesn't seem to be in his nature. It seems like that's more of Jackson West's job, and then Landon Thomas would be the future H-back. But it's just, I put him high enough at 20, and I feel like that's borderline a little bit too high. But it's just because I don't know who the second pass catcher is going to be. And for DJ, he did use the tight end quite a bit at Clemson. I don't know as much at Oregon. Oregon State, I don't know that they had a target the way they did at Clemson. But it's just, if you've got Malik Benson on the outside and you've got a slot receiver who's quick and shifty, you're missing a larger target. And so for red zone purposes and for general purposes of who's going to be one of your top 4 targeted players that's not out of the backfield, not a running back, I think it's Kyle Morlock. So that's why I have him at 20.
Yeah, I think we are on the same plane. I had him at 27, so we're all pretty close there. I would have had him higher if I knew for certain that he was going to take a step forward as a blocker. But I don't know that. I'm with you on that front. It is in his best interest to become a much better blocker. And I say that thinking about his future, because as a pass catcher and as a target, he is, a sky's the limit. You're talking about 6'7". He does have good hands. He's a plus route runner. If you can block, obviously the pros will salivate at that skill set. You need him to block here for the purposes of obviously having the versatility of not tipping the hand when he's in the game. There's a guy that if he blocks, changes things for you offensively. Teams are going to have a hard time kind of gearing up for what he is if he's not one-dimensional. So I feel like he'll work at it because he's put on size since he got here. How you perform in the weight room, how you approach the weight room is usually a good indicator to me of your mindset and what you're willing to sacrifice and what you're willing to do. So I think there's a strong indication that Kyle Morlock wants to be a better football player, that Kyle Morlock wants to improve his stock and play a more important role. And I judge that based on what he's done in the weight room since he's arrived. So I think there's a reason to kind of watch with a bit of eagerness when we get into the fall camp, Tom, because maybe this, think about it now. That's a lot of time at the end of spring. Well, I say a significant amount of time at the end of spring to the start of fall camp to really attack the gym, really attack the diet, really attack putting on size, working on technique, studying film that makes you better. And I think he'll be willing to do that. He's come a long way already.
Agreed. It's a ton of time relative to the gains that we saw from a lot of players from the end of the bowl to the workouts, the tour of duty. Some guys' bodies changed drastically. You're talking about 8 to 12 pound gains or losses either way. And that's basically no time.
Darryl Jackson transformed his body. Darryl Jackson.
And Josh Farmer blew up. He got huge and in a good way. I'm not saying in an uncontrolled way. It's just, that is a TV commercial. In 6 weeks, you can do this. That's what those guys have done. Now you give them 4 months. That's an awful long time because, again, there's a ramp-up period to camp. I know it's going to start in late July, but by the time you're really doing things, it's going to be first, second week of August, right around there. So that's an awful long period of time to go hit the gym. And you're right. Typically, the attention to detail in the weight room does allow a bit of an insight into a mindset. It doesn't always translate, but there's another player in this quintet in this top 40 that did hit the weight room very hard last year, and you saw that there was a physicality and a snarl to his play later on, and that's probably why he's going to be ranked, I think, at 16 in this group. That's
19 is Lola Hea, 18 is Ja'Kai Douglas, 17, and we'll get to all these guys. 17 is Hakeem Williams, and 16 is Roydell Williams.
Okay, so it's Hakeem 17. Yeah, that's the guy I was talking about.
Yeah. So Hakeem is the next guy that stands out, and probably, we'll gloss over everybody. But Hakeem is the next guy that really stands out, Tom, because Hakeem is, I think, potentially very, very special. I think he could be an NFL wide receiver for a long time. It's got to do it. But very few are blessed with that size coupled with that speed. It's interesting. He transformed his body. He has all the tools, but he's really got the one area where he's got to prove something to me is he's got to catch the ball more. And I'm a stickler about these things. I was on Johnny about this. It really hurt his draft stock, by the way. Johnny falls that far solely because, funny thing, NFL teams like wide receivers to be able to catch the football with consistency. Hakeem had way too many drops in the spring, way too many. More than all of the other things that people complained about, such as he was covered too easily, people were physical with him. I think that's a byproduct of the defense knowing what's coming. coupled with a quarterback that's learning a new system. I don't concern myself with how frequently he was covered up or how frequently he had drops or things like that. In terms of the contested catches, I think he'll win those, especially when opposing defenses don't have a real good idea of what the effing play is going to be. But I do need him. It was the easy catches that he really maybe that was concentration. I don't remember thinking that he drops too many passes when he first got here, Tom. And that's something we really look at when we get new receivers is, all right, well, is he a natural catcher of the football? There are guys that the first day you see him catching the football, you go, don't have to worry about him. The ball it's soft hands. It's like an infielder, right? You watch the soft hands and the good feet. They always find a way to put themselves in a position. We look for that stuff early on. He never stood out to me as being mechanical. He looked like a guy that could catch the ball. That's why I was kind of surprised in the spring where I thought, maybe he's got a lot on his mind. Maybe he's frustrated. Maybe he's dealing with something. I don't know. But he didn't catch the ball very well in the spring, and that's the area where I think he's got to get a lot better.
Yeah, it's the details of receiver that don't have him that hold him back from being in the top 10, I think. Because if he was what his high school tape suggested in terms of a pass catching target, and even in high school he was kind of raw because of the size. He would just go wherever he wanted, do whatever he wanted. But I have him at 12. I have him the highest on staff, and it's because of his blocking. I just look, man. If we ran last year's offense, I wouldn't have him as high. But this year's offense is going to be predicated on speed sweeps and screens and quick hitters and flares, things that require a Johnny Wilson-like, blocker on the edge. And Hakeem, far and away, is the guy who loves it the most on the team to block on the perimeter, and he's really good at it. And so, again, I think he's going to catch plenty of passes. I don't know if he's going to be a realized wide receiver in that regard this season. But even if he isn't, let's say he catches 30 passes this year, and it's a nondescript yardage total, 260 and 4 or 5 scores. Okay, that's not a ton of production relative to how you recruited him to come into Florida State. But if he does that, and he also is a guy who springs Jalen Lucas every other week for a 40-yarder or a 50-yarder, or you have Jalen Brown on a speed sweep, and there's Hakeem. Man, every week we see him driving somebody into the bench, and that's a gain of 10 where it could have been a gain of 4. All of those things add up. So I think the geography of where this offense is going to be played in terms of depth, I think it's a lot around the line of scrimmage. And in terms of north-south, I think there's going to be north-south running with a lot of speed east-west. You need somebody like Hakeem. He is very important to get what you want to get in terms of explosive plays. So that's why I have him as high as I do.
When we come back, we'll take a look at Lola Hea, newcomer to the team who we're excited about. We'll talk a little bit about Ja'Kai Douglas, and we'll also touch on Roydell Williams, who's a nice running back for you in a camp that's going to have a ton of good running backs and a lot of guys that can play different roles. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Feeling hungry but don't want to leave the house? Download the Foodies Takeout and Delivery app and earn points and rewards on every order while supporting local at the same time. Other food deliveries like DoorDash and Uber Eats are taking upwards of 20 to 30% directly out of our local restaurants' pockets, while Foodies does not. Keep money local and support your favorite local restaurants such as El Jalisco, Gordo's, Jerry's, Smitty's Tap House, and many more. Download the free app today and start earning your rewards instantly. Just search for Foodies Takeout and Delivery in any app store or order online at foodiestakeout.com.
Social Kitchen is now open on Cary Forest Parkway near Ology Northside, Tallahassee's only premier market where you can receive the famed Snake River Farm steaks and premier meats. Social Kitchen also has chef-prepared meals and sides ready to serve in just under 20 minutes. Perfect for those very busy springtime weeks, weekends, you name it. Hosting some people at the house. Hey, Social Kitchen also has build-your-own charcuterie boards and catering. Stop in and visit Social Kitchen today or visit us online at socialkitchentlh.com. socialkitchentlh.com.
Dream it, plan it, do it. Brian Barnard's Flooring America offers a straightforward way to shop with our streamlined shopping. Finding the right flooring is simple. Visit our newly remodeled showroom featuring the Room to Explore shopping experience, where our knowledgeable staff will walk you through the steps. Our family has been serving the area since 1976 with a local staff of more than 35 people trained in flooring sales and design. We know floors and we know styles. Let us help make your home timeless. Brian Barnard's Flooring America, where friends send friends.
Oh my God, what happened to you? You're walking so crooked.
Well, I was walking my alligator and I tripped on a cypress knee and I spilled my margarita.
Oh my gosh, your margarita.
Got blown my back completely out. I had to ride the alligator home. I don't know what to do. My back's killing me.
You're such a Florida man. You should know you should go to Finn Chiropractic.
Really?
You can go to their website and book an appointment and get you in as soon as possible. Go to finnchiro.com, FENNCHIRO.com.
You mean 24 hours a day I can make my appointment online and pay for it?
Yep, right on their website.
Wow, and it's discounted?
Yeah.
All right, that's what Florida man needs to do.
No lines, no waiting. Visit fenchiro.com to book your next appointment with a discount. FENNCHIRO.com. That's FENNCHIRO.com. It's Fen Chiropractic, where the chiropractors love you, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Hold my beer. I'm going to Finn Chiropractic.
Did you know that feeling sluggish or weighed down could be a sign that your digestive system isn't working at its best? Taking Metamucil every day can help. Metamucil fiber powders help promote your daily digestive health using a plant-based fiber called psyllium. The gelling action of this special fiber traps and removes waste, so you can feel lighter and more energetic. Metamucil, promoting digestive health for a better you. Learn more at metamucil.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
This is the story of the one. As head of maintenance at a concert hall, he knows the show must always go on. That's why he works behind the scenes, ensuring every light is working, the HVAC is humming, and his facility shines. With Granger's supplies and solutions for every challenge he faces, plus 24/7 customer support, his venue never misses a beat. Call quickgranger.com or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
Science-backed, technology-tracked, and coach-led. Hey, Jeff Cameron here. You've heard me rave about the benefits of Orange Theory Fitness and the proven track record of science-backed interval training. Well, now Orange Theory Fitness has done it again, adding more ways for you to improve your health and look your best. In addition to the always great standard workouts, OTF has added Tread 50 and Strength 50 for those in the mood to just lift for an afternoon or attack those cardio goals for the day. Take the guesswork out of exercise. Make sure you're getting the most out of each and every workout. Orange Theory Fitness, location Midtown Tallahassee and Village Square Boulevard.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Jeff Cameron Show. Alternate programming as the Noles play baseball right now. Another reminder, this particular hour is not live. The first one was. This one is not, but we carry on as we talk a little Florida State football. Had an interesting discussion a moment ago about the expectations of Hakeem Williams as well as Kyle Morlock. I want to circle back on a couple of guys that we did not get to in that discussion. And again, this is Warchant's staff rankings for the 40 most impactful players, players ranked as we do every year about the importance of their role in the upcoming season. And, we didn't see a ton of discrepancy here on this particular list, but I want to go back to Sione Olahea, the defensive end. Corey had him at 11. I had him at 24. Tom, you had him at 13. This is interesting. Aslan had him at 14, Matt at 28. So there is some in this particular player discrepancy of what we think he's going to be. He is 260 pounds. I look at him, Tom, I don't know how you look at him, but I look at him as a potential edge setter that can slide in. Yeah. So his versatility will be important. I don't know how dynamic he's going to be. I think he's a nice position player for you, rotational player for you, I should say. I don't think he changes the game, but I don't think he's a minus player. I definitely have him as a plus player. I mean, all of us had him in the top 27.
Yeah, I have him as very important because he's going to make Patrick Payton and Marvin Jones Jr. better. I think those are your two starters. But I think this team is going to be defined by its defensive line one way or the other. I think that's what's going to set the tone. We all seem to agree in different conversations we've had on different programs that the offense can be explosive. You say it's going to be more enjoyable to watch. I tend to agree. but it might be a little hot and cold. This defensive line, when your starters are out there, and I believe Marvin Jones Jr. is going to be a starter on the other side of Patrick Payton, and you got Farmer and Jackson in the middle. Like, that is fearsome. That's unbelievable. And that's the group that can help you close games. But when you have a player like Lolo Hea, who can fortify the best segment group on the team, I believe defensive end is now the best segment group on the team, because Sione came to town. He was the more likely starter before spring. Coming out of spring, Marvin Jones Jr., I think, is the far more likely starter. They were rotating in 25 snaps a game for their backups at this position last year. You can give him 35 or 40 without breaking a sweat, and you can move him to either side of the line of scrimmage without breaking a sweat, which makes Patrick Payton and Marvin Jones Jr. more dangerous throughout the game. They go max. You allow max effort out of Patrick Payton for 55 snaps or Marvin Jones for 45 snaps. That is invaluable, rather than the alternative of let's take him out of the equation. And you're looking at Byron Turner or Aaron Hester, because Hester had a good spring camp. The drop-off is huge. So this is, I place Sione very, very high because of his versatility. If you're hurt at that position for a game, he absolutely can start. He was a second-team All-Pac-12 last year. He's a veteran player who has a role. He's trying to get better at pass rushing, really good against the run. He's a valuable piece to this team. So that's why I placed him that high, because I think that defensive line is going to be the group that leads the way for Florida State this year.
Well, I think you bring up a good point about what kind of a veteran he is. He's a red shirt senior. He's played a ton of football. That helps you immensely. He will not be overwhelmed with his responsibilities. He will not be overwhelmed playing in big games. He's played in a lot of big games before. And we look at that backup group, that unit that you're referencing. I think you brought up Byron Turner, who I like quite a bit. I like KJ Sampson quite a bit, by the way. I like Grady Kelly for his role. I don't think he's dynamic by any means, but I think he's an anchor there as a rotational piece.
Durajaye, because he could play both. I should have mentioned him when I talked about the backup defensive ends. He could flex either way, but Durajaye is more, I think he's closer to the football than lining up outside.
Yeah, and he's an improving and up-and-coming sophomore, too. So he's a guy that's only going to get better as he gets reps. Daniel Lyons is on that group of linemen as well. I actually kind of, when you talk about it and you say their names out loud and you think about what you've seen from them and what you discovered about them in spring, and then you go back and watch for those that have played in games, you've got film from West Virginia, you got films from Oregon State. You kind of had a chance to see some of these other guys. And then the guys that were already on our roster, obviously, we've seen quite a bit. So, yeah, I'm pretty encouraged by that group. There's just not going to be, when we talk about defensive tackle, a little different than defensive end, but there's not going to be anybody that's Braden Fisk good of the backups. Right. Now, the starters could obviously Farmer and Darrell Jackson could be incredible players this year and lead the way. But like that next group, do you have a guy that's like a Braden Fisk? No, you really don't. Do you have good players? Do you have plus players? You got guys that can really give you valuable reps? You absolutely do.
Yeah, I think in the interior, if you're hoping for a breakout player, it's not Kelly. Kelly is most certainly in your top 4. But if you're looking for a breakout player, I think it would be Durajaye in a pass setting, because he's a combo player. So he should have skills against a guard that stand out more than against a tackle at the size that he plays at. And then you're right. I hadn't really considered that Lolo Hea in the 3rd and 10 could maybe flex inside and play inside, because he's got the size to get off of a block from a guard, a pass protecting guard. That's a fascinating idea. But overall, their top line of the defensive line is really, really good. I think their second line at defensive end specifically gets pretty unproven / thin. I'm cold on Byron Turner. I don't know what to say. I mean, I could be totally wrong about that, but Lolo Hea's value is super high. I think he makes Marvin Jones better this year, because Marvin Jones doesn't have to be out there for the rep count that Patrick Payton did in the second role last season. So if Marvin Jones is playing 47 snaps instead of 62, I think that means he's going to make a greater impact, and that's the value of Lolo Hea.
Ja'Kai Douglas, everybody knows what Ja'Kai Douglas is. I don't get caught up talking too much about Ja'Kai Douglas, because I think he can be a very good player for what he is on this team. I know people think that I don't love him. I don't love the way we've used him in the past. I think he's going to be used properly this time. It'll be interesting to see what he does. He's been here for a very long time. Look, he had that game against Pitt, and that was a desperation game because we had nobody healthy, and I'll always give him credit. That was a 6-catch performance, over 100 yards. It was stunning. He's clutch in that way. He's just so small that you don't want to be throwing the ball down the field to him, and I hate when we do that, and we did it way too often last year. Stop doing that. It's dumb. But the stuff inside, he's quick, and he is savvy, and he'll make plays for you. So I think that's all we really need to say about him. He's on everybody's list. I had him at 35. Tom, you had him at 17. Aslan had him at 18. Ira had him at 14. Gene had him at 15. Matt had him at 17. Suffice to say, I had him as a top 40 player, Tom.
Yeah, yes, you did. You had him as a top 35 player, in fact.
There you go.
I think we had him in the teens because of need. They need him to be the slot guy. They don't have a proven slot guy. It's just self-explanatory at this point. Now, let's bring the wheel route back because that helps. That matches with DJ more than accuracy over the middle of the field. The one concern I would have is DJ's inconsistencies over the middle. Catch radius ain't large, so that's no good. So we'll see. But they need him to operate over the middle. Just don't have a lot of proven targets.
Yeah, that's where I was hoping that somebody like Jaylen Brown will emerge as the guy there. I think a little bit potentially more dynamic and a little bit better target. We'll see. If not, it's Ja'Kai all day. You're not wrong about that. From there, we did not talk about Roydell Williams. Everybody looks at the running backs and they think about what we've lost in the form of Trey Benson. But I really think this is a group that will be very good. There's just so many options. This is a guy that Nick Saban loved a lot. Has had a lot of carries at the highest level against elite competition. I think you have to trust him, and I think he'll be a very good player for you. But I also think there's a ton of good players at that position. So I think he'll be the back, I guess the lead back, if you will, but they got a lot of options.
Yeah, this is a group that I moved down the deck. Jalen Lucas is the highest of the running backs, quote unquote, and that might make some people spit out their drinks because they think, well, Toafili is somebody that they're talking about a lot, or Roydell is who they brought in, or for me, I like Keziah because I think Keziah Holmes does everything in one player, which the versatility should get him more reps. But I'm going to value this like franchises do in the NFL. I'm going to say that the running backs are less valuable than the offensive linemen that are in front of them, they're less valuable than receivers on the edge or the defensive line. I'm going to look at it like that because Florida State has so many of these players. They're not scarce at the position. It makes them less valuable in terms of the top 40 list. Doesn't mean that they're not very good football players, and Roydell Williams could have as the lead back. He might be the lead back, an excellent season. It's just for every situation you draw up, you've got two guys you like. In short yardage, Roydell is certainly going to be on the list of dudes that you want out there. But I think Keziah Holmes can be pretty tough, too, in a short area. If you're talking about top-end speed, Jalen Lucas is a guy. Lawrence Toafili is another one. Sam Singleton that you like for the top-end speed. Makai Danzy's not even on campus, and he's somebody like a short yardage. Cam Davis on 3rd and 1. Not a bad option. So you go down the list and you say, who are the players I like in these given situations? And Florida State running back has got at least 2 for every situation you like, therefore less valuable. So that would be my explanation for having him a lot lower than most people on the list.
Yeah, I like Roydell a lot, but I agree with your assessment. It's really matchup by matchup. I think you'll see this play out sort of that way. He may get the most consistent amount of carries per game, but there'll be days where Cam Davis is rolling downhill with those thunder thighs. There'll be days that Sam Singleton is breaking out and doing what he does. Lawrence Toafili catching the ball out of the backfield. Jalen Lucas catching the ball out of the backfield. Keziah Holmes, your guy, and his versatility. There's a lot. Short yardage situations. We're talking about offensive backfield. Don't forget DJ Uiagalelei. So they just on and on and on they go. They got so many opportunities here to be pretty dynamic at the position.
Yeah, so it's like here's an easy test for a lot of the top 40. Does it apply for all of them? No, you got to use discretion. But if this player was unavailable for a week, how much would it hurt you? And
it's a good way of phrasing it. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why in some situations I'm like, man, it would be awfully difficult if Hakeem Williams is not available because I don't know in the quick game or the bubble game or the end arounds who the hell is lead blocking. I don't have an answer. If Roydell misses the Memphis game, I think we've got answers and guys that we can hand the ball off to.
Yeah. I think that's a fair assessment. I agree with you wholeheartedly. Hey, by the way, check out socialkitchentlh.com. socialkitchentlh.com. You'll go through their website. You'll see all the options. But if you just go to Social Kitchen itself off of Cary Forest Parkway, you'll walk in and you'll see a wonderful display case of awesome meats, including the famed Wagyu, best meats in town. The steak case is something to behold. I'm not going to lie. It's high premium. There's American Wagyu from Snake River. You've got the Angus beef prime. You've got filet kebabs. You got all the stuff. They also have chef-prepared meals that you can check out. There's grab-and-go meals that you can check out if you're in a hurry. Those are all microwave safe and ready to eat. They've got the cheese and charcuterie boards that, who the hell doesn't like that? Tom doesn't, but I do. Well, you like the other stuff on the charcuterie.
Yeah, man, the meats, I got no problem. And if they put those little crackers on there too, like basically a salt or Captain's wafers or Ritz crackers.
Yeah.
You take a couple of meats, you little sandwich, little
miniature sandwich. Socialkitchentlh.com to check out what I'm talking about. Go by there off of Cary Forest. You'll thank me. Ask to speak to the chef and ask him different ways to prepare all the meals. They do a very good job of educating you as well. Jeff Cameron Show 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Your local news now.
A 19-year-old man is behind bars in connection to a Friday morning shooting at the Hidden Pines apartment complex. Tallahassee police confirmed Garrett Ponder was arrested. The shooting happened around 4:30 a.m. in the 2000 block of Trimble Road. One adult male suffered from a gunshot wound in the mouth. The victim was transported to the hospital where his injuries were determined to be serious. The suspect and victim are known to each other. Ponder was arrested the same day and is being held at the Leon County Jail. Ponder was also denied bond Saturday morning. A man has died after being hit by a train in Bainbridge on Saturday morning. At around 9:37 a.m., a pedestrian was walking across the railroad tracks at the intersection of Albany Road and Back Street in Bainbridge. The victim was a Bainbridge resident and was deaf. The victim was walking south on Albany Road when he crossed over the train tracks and was hit head-on by a train. The victim was treated by EMS and life-flighted to a hospital in Tallahassee where he died from his injuries. This is Rachel Anay with your Real Talk 93.3 Local News Update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Slight chance of rain showers this afternoon. Otherwise, sunshine mixed with clouds at times. Daytime highs approaching 94. East winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. 73 tonight. Slight chance for showers. Slight chance for showers tomorrow. Daytime highs approaching 93. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, it's 87 degrees.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future. There he is. Haven't seen this guy since, what was it? Oh, shoot. U2 at the Sphere in Las Vegas, baby.
Hey, how about that, man? Wasn't that fun?
Good show. Good show. Everything about it. Nearly perfect. Nearly perfect.
I had everything I could possibly want.
I wanted one thing, couldn't find it, and I looked everywhere. No Cubans.
What do you mean?
No Cubans.
There was Cubans.
No, I didn't see any Cubans.
Dude,
no.
I'm sure there was Cubans there. I mean,
No. I walked around. There was a moment right before the show. I thought, got to find some Cubans. Nothing.
Dude, there's Cubans. There was Cubans. I'm sure there was Cubans.
In Las Vegas?
In Las Vegas.
No Cubans in Vegas.
There's Cubans in Vegas, man.
Eddie, there were no Cubans.
Chef.
The sandwich. There were no Cuban sandwiches. You're Cuban. Of course I know there were Cubans there.
Oh, the sandwich. Yeah, no, there probably wasn't many there in Vegas.
No Cubans.
No, not yet.
Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness. 2 Tallahassee locations, Midtown on Thomasville Road and Northside in the Village Common Shopping Center. Online at orangetheoryfitness.com.
Got to the meat and potatoes of that 16 through 20. Good times talking about those players. I'm reminded each and every time we talk about this roster, the differences between where we were 2 years ago, certainly 3 years ago, and where we are now. It's fun to debate the levels of usage for certain talents, and I think that it's a testament to how quickly they've rebuilt the roster. I will say, and we'll have to get into this maybe next week some. I'm watching recruiting kind of carefully here, Tom, and I'm not flipping out or anything, but they need some yeses.
Okay, so I can speak to this because last night on the Smash, I had a long conversation with Michael Langston, and we talked about a host of things, but this is one of the topics, and he's saying, hang on, everybody pump your brakes, because he believes that by the time we come out of the summer into fall campish time, a lot of the kids are going to do the visits this weekend, and they want to make decisions in July. They want early July decisions, whatever, little fireworks logos. He thinks graphics. I'll make sure to have a fireworks graphic ready to go for July 4th. He thinks about 14 or so by the end of camp, and that's 10 more than you got now. And he's saying he's saying conservatively 8 more yeses, and if you want to be aggressive, 10 to 12. So if you do have a class that's well over a dozen at that point when you're into camp, that puts you in position to be in that top 10 range. But unfortunately, it has dragged a little bit. This is me talking, not him now. It does feel like it's a little slow, but they're putting together a class that potentially could be quite good at offensive line, at defensive,
that's huge, yeah,
and at defensive end, which you need a lot of help for. So, and at linebacker as well. Like these 3 places tend to have real problems in recent years, but it looks like we're bringing in good hauls for all 3 of those position groups, and you should get some yeses to that end in the next 6 weeks or so.
Well, I'm going to be looking very closely at the interior of the defensive line too. I need Odell to start getting some yeses here.
That is one where Michael says, okay. Defensive end, he feels quite good, which we need help there too. You can't be going in the portal getting a pass rusher every single year. Well, maybe we can because we have, but we need more options to be from the high school ranks. But defensive tackle, he says, yeah, maybe they might have 1 or 2 as we get into the fall season, 1 or 2 that might be on the board. Whereas for end, it probably is between 3 and 4.
All right. Well, again, I don't press the panic button for nothing. I just would like to hear a little bit more in the way of yes consistently. And maybe it happens that way. That is the final step to take for this staff to prove above all else that they have fully arrived and are complete. No perfect staff. Some staffs suck on game day. Some staffs stink in recruiting. Some staffs struggle in other aspects of managing a program. I feel like this staff, when we assess the staff, do so many things so very well. High school recruiting, they've never had a top 10 class. So, this is Florida State. After you win a bunch of football games, you ought to have top 10 classes on the regular. They have now amassed quite a few wins the last 2 years. We should start to see significant impacts in the world of high school recruiting. We already know we can portal. We already know we can make up for some deficits in this arena. But this ought to take the next big step forward because you're talking about, again, aspiring to be the best program in America. And I always remind people of this lofty bar to which we hold this program to. We don't really hold any other program at Florida State to that level. I think the softball program we'd like to see continue and sustain excellence, but we know Oklahoma's the creme de la creme of softball. Soccer, maybe we hold to that end, and they've done a great job of trying to sustain that and getting through, kicking through the door there with a new coach. That's awesome. But really no other program. We don't do it with baseball. We think the baseball team should be a top 20 team every year. We think they should be competitive to win the ACC. We think they should make regular trips to Omaha. I think they're back to doing that. But we don't hold them to the standard that, say, LSU's at. And then when you go through and you start looking at basketball, we know we don't hold them to that standard. But football's one where you legitimately know that they anteed up years and years and years ago, and that is what they aspire to be, and that doesn't change. From Bowden to Jimbo, obviously didn't work out with Willie, but now obviously you have a guy that is one of the elite coaches in college football, so the standard returns. And there's no reason to think that you can't be the best program in America. But in order to do it, you've got to recruit like that. Georgia recruits like that. Let's just say it for what it is. They recruit that way, and they get a whole lot of yeses from 5-star kids on the line of scrimmage. And I want to see more of that from Florida State and that step forward that we're talking about. Interior defensive line, offensive line. Let's start getting some yeses there from the 5-star prospects.
Yeah, O-line, you potentially have a situation where you have, 2 of the top interior guys in the country, which would help.
Huge.
Maybe a tackle or 2 as well. Florida State's having those conversations. I think you're seeing incremental to significant growth in many position groups. The one that jumped overnight was Surtan's group at defensive back. Like that one went boom. They made the right hire, and you can see the difference that a person can make in that situation. But also, I wonder if we're having this conversation this time next year, I will be very, very concerned, because in the next calendar year, I would assume 2 things are going to have happened. Number one, we're going to know that we're out of the ACC, so they don't have to field those dumb questions anymore about, well, what about the competition you play at Florida State?
Tom, it is 100% being used against us currently. You are right to bring that up. Any of the insiders, including Michael Langston, that you talk to will tell you that whether it's fair or not, whether it's accurate or not, whether or not it seems applicable or not, it is used against Florida State, and some of these elite recruits are buying it.
Correct. And that's where, again, what does a kid believe? What does a kid buy into? It's like some years we see a program get lucky 3 times, turnover luck, and they win 10 games, and that they're a 7-win team. Kids don't care. They see the 10 wins and they commit to the team that just won 10. You're like, they faked it till they made it. Damn it, man. The other way, the SEC competition. Michael will tell you, Matt Lasser will tell you, kids believe that the week-to-week competition level at the SEC is going to put more eyeballs on them, whether or not they show out. Or like, you could show them what Jared Verse and Braden Fisk just did. They say, well, I'd have scouts with eyeballs on me sooner because I'm playing at Auburn or because I'm playing at Ole Miss. And you want to rip your hair out and say, yeah, you're going to lose 6 games, or at Ole Miss, you're going to lose 2. You have no business losing. They don't care. So if you can get out of that, you're wasting less time fending off the negative recruiting.
Yeah,
the second thing that would happen this time next year, Mike Norvell wanted assurances for more infrastructure for football with his contract extension. I don't know that 2025 as a cycle is soon enough for that to kick in and the machine to get going, but the machine should be going and firing on all cylinders in June of 2025. And if we're sitting here with 3 or 4 commits in June of 2025, for those 2 reasons, I'd say, unfortunately, we need to make some changes, probably.
Well, I'm already in favor of that. I've said that before, but I can be patient if we have to be. So we'll see. We're going to have to be. I think the third thing to add to your list of things that will have happened that ought to aid you in your endeavor to bring in elite players from the high school ranks is you will have had another 10-win season to add to the ledger. And I think that doing that probably impacts you the most in terms of being able to gain access to these kids, getting them on campus and having them believe. If you are a now perennial top 5 team, top 6 team, yeah, man, I think it goes a long way in helping you overcome some of your deficiencies in recruiting the high school ranks just by being good, just by being so high profile. If Florida State wins the ACC for the 2nd consecutive year and makes it to the playoff and beats Clemson in back-to-back years, and then once again vanquishes Florida, and then we'll see what happens with the Miami game. I think it's a great game. There's going to be a lot of eyes on sets there, but you have an opportunity to be. You're playing a lot of high-profile games this year. First of all, you have the game against Georgia Tech. People starve for the return of college football. They're drooling for the return of college football when that game starts. The whole nation is going to watch Florida State, Georgia Tech in Ireland. So you've got a high-profile game there by definition because you're the first out the box. You've got a huge game against Clemson that everybody watches. You've got the rivalry game with Miami, but you also have the road game against Notre Dame. You have a very intriguing game against a 10-win team from a year ago in SMU on the road that I think some people will tune into. Maybe not a mega game, but a lot of people will watch that game. But obviously, Florida, Miami, Clemson, Georgia Tech, road Notre Dame, you got a lot of chances to change perceptions or further bolster the positive feelings towards Florida State if you perform well in those games.
Yeah, it's a matter of winning your fair share of those. If you make your way to the playoff, and then your brand is on screen again for the playoff. They are spending too much time having to deal with dumb negative recruiting tactics, but so does every staff. It's just that this one seems like it's a little bit more of a fundamental need. The other thing I would say from an infrastructure standpoint is, let's say that we do have a target date of 2026 for the new conference that we're in. I'm just going to put that out there. And at that point, when you go to the same 5 boosters that you've been asking all this money from over the years, you say, look, light at the end of the tunnel, brother. Light at the end of the tunnel. Get me home. Just take me home. We've got a lot of beautiful suites that we're building here on the alumni side. You can have it for 10 years, but I need you 20. Sorry, endowment. We'll give it to your kid. Just help me get to this finish line for the money to start pouring in. And at that point, we can tell you that, okay, we only need a couple million, not 5 million.
Well, obviously we are kind of rocking and rolling now down into the 60s by the end of this week, and we start next week. We're in the 50-something days to the start of college football, and you say that out loud, you get a little nervous. It makes me real. I can only imagine being a coach, because now I realize I got to pull the trigger on my Ireland ticket. I've got to get my ducks in a row for pre-games with Tom. I got to make sure we're all set up with our sponsors for the Jeff Cameron Show and all the things that we're doing for when the start of football season begins. So, hell yeah, I get nervous.
It's not enough time. There's just not enough time. De Niro in Heat. That's what I fear.
Yeah, what's that dream about? I know what that one's about. Not enough time. Not enough time. I think that's it for us, right? That's it. That's all. Hopefully Florida State baseball is winning. We're back normal tomorrow with a live Jeff Cameron Show all the way
Unless
through.
They win.
What'd you say?
Unless we win.
Yeah, unless we win, then we'll do another one of these. Either way, you'll have fresh content. How about that? For Tom, I'm Jeff. Be good, everybody. Go Noles. Peace.